Hey everyone, and welcome back to my countdown to Halloween. Today is day 8. Starting to lose track a little bit. And for today, I decided to talk about horror comedies. Now, what's great about horror comedies is that for some reason there's something about horror and comedy that do actually go very well together. And I think that has something to do with the fact that the feeling of being horrified and the feeling of apparently laughing are somehow connected. Because if you think about it, how many times can you be actually just terrified by something so much so that either your immediate reaction or your immediate reaction following that is actually to laugh? So I think psychologically there is something kind of in there somewhere. So it makes sense, especially for movies, that those two elements can go together very well. And you can have obviously all different kinds. You can have a horror film that just has a little bit of comedy in it to just sort of maybe take the edge off a little bit. You can have a film that's really much more of a comedy, but it has very horrific elements in it, but they sort of are there more so to laugh at. And then you have, in my opinion, sort of the more rare ones where you actually have a good amount of comedy and horror without sacrificing elements of either one. And sometimes it's not always easy to even see the humor in certain films. For example, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre it has a lot of very funny elements to it. But I know for me, like at least the first couple times I watched it, I did not see any humor. I was just terrified. And then at some point, I remember like all of a sudden starting to get some of the underlying humor in certain scenes. And even other films like, the original Evil Dead. I mean, Evil Dead 2 is probably a little more obvious with comedy. Obviously, Army of Darkness is. But even the original Evil Dead, that's probably another example where it's like, it's kind of so horrifying that sometimes you don't get the humor until you've actually seen it a couple times. And then you have other films that are obviously much more over the top. And those are the ones that are probably much more comedy more than anything. But I mean, obviously, you have like a lot of the Troma films, for example. It always bothers me when people watch a film that is most obviously trying to be sort of fun and cheesy. And they'll say, oh god, that film was terrible because it was like so bad. It's like, well, what do you mean it was so bad? It's like, it's not supposed to be serious. If you're watching like The Toxic Avenger, it's like, yeah, you're not supposed to be taking it seriously, or a film like, like Doom Asylum or something. It's like you're supposed to laugh along with the film. But then there are films that have a perfect mix, and this is actually, for my opinion, very hard to do, a perfect mix of humor and horror, but the horror elements are not brought down because of the humor, and the humor is not lost because of the horror. Probably one good example, obviously one of my favorites, is Creepshow. That's definitely one where I think it has a lot of funny moments, but definitely the horror is very much horror. Or probably my favorite werewolf film, An American Werewolf in London. That one obviously has a lot of humor in it, but definitely the horror elements are very serious. But probably my favorite one, I think, would be Return of the Living Dead. I think that one actually is, I find so funny, but yet, like, there's actually a lot of pretty, like, terrifying moments in that film. And I remember even as a kid, like, again, I didn't get the comedy as, well, I shouldn't say that. I actually got some of the comedy, but the zombie stuff always freaked me out. So it was like a perfect blend. And of course now, like, I can really appreciate the humor now. So whether or not you're watching ones that may be a little bit more obvious, like Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, or ones like Return of the Living Dead, where you have that, perfect blend of the two. So I wanted to take today just to honor horror comedies. So definitely let me know some of your favorites. Keep an eye out tomorrow for the next one in my countdown to Halloween. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.